You know, I think I said I needed to take this tag off last time I had this cup. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. Hello, welcome. It's Burgess Taylor, our journey with Burgess, and I'm so glad you're here. We're going to talk about boundaries, and we're going to talk about comfort zones, because boundaries is out of my comfort zone. We are doing Self-Care Sunday. I've been doing it now for a little bit. The first day that I did it was the last Sunday of August, the 29th, I think, maybe. And I've been doing Self-Care Sunday every Sunday since. The videos come up a little bit after. Sometimes they may come up on a Sunday. Just depends on how busy things are. But Sunday is the day that I choose to do the reflecting. Throughout the week, I do research and I do things. One of the things this week was to put together a basket. You can't see it. A self-care toolkit. A self-care toolbox. And I've been adding to. And some of the things I've been adding to have been journal prompts. One of the journal prompts said, pull a tarot spread and journal about it. That's just one of them. I have another one that says, find a favorite quote. Why is it important to you? What stands out about it? I could journal about it. I have some other different ones. Like there are some mind ones, some body ones, some spiritual ones. The tarot was one of that was more spiritual in nature. One of the body ones was, hey, get up, dance to your favorite song for 5 minutes. What I wanted to talk about today, like I said, is boundaries and comfort zone. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of Brené Brown quotes because I love Brené Brown because I need all of her books. I think midlife is when the universe gently places her hands upon your shoulders and whispers in your ear. I'm not screwing around. It's time. All of this pretending and performing, these coping mechanisms that you've developed to protect yourself from feeling inadequate and getting hurt, has to go. Time is growing short. There are unexplored adventures ahead of you. You can't live the rest of your life worried about what other people think. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Courage and daring are coursing through you. You were made to live and love with your whole heart. It's time to show up and be seen. As somebody who is, I'm midlife, I guess, or maybe a little bit above. I don't know. Are we still considering your 40s to be midlife? I'm not quite sure. Brené Brown has this other quote. One of the first quotes that really came up for me, like that was necessary. When we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Boundaries are a function of self-respect and self-love. Compassionate people ask for what they need. They say no when they need to, and when they say yes, they mean it. They're compassionate because their boundaries keep them out of resentment. Now, one of the other quotes doesn't outright say boundaries, but when we are talking about this resentment, we're talking about being accountable. What she says here makes sense because it all goes hand in hand. Blame has an inverse relationship with accountability. Accountability, by definition, is a vulnerable process. Blaming is one of the reasons we miss our opportunities for empathy. If we are not setting boundaries and we are saying no when we need to say yes, we're saying no when we want to say yes and we're saying yes when we want to say no or when we need to, we're not going to have anything left. And what we do have left, and if we're giving it away, we're going to be very resentful, bitter, and we're going to place blame on everybody else. I've been guilty of that myself. But the truth is, I have to be accountable for my own actions. And if I am saying yes when I really need to say no, then that's on me. So part of the work that I've had to do is, why am I saying yes when I need to say no? Setting boundaries is actually a form of self-care. It ensures that you're actually saying yes or no and no to the appropriate things. It sets a place that makes something clear. It also sets in place clear results when the boundary isn't respected. And it's really difficult, I think, sometimes if you haven't learned boundaries to set them. In many ways, it can feel like it's just one more thing that you're not doing well or you're not doing right, and then you feel very vulnerable, and sometimes it can feel like the easiest thing to do is to say yes when you need to say no. It's the easy way out. But that really does come at a price. It takes something from you that you can't get back. I've said, okay, and then in my head went, oh, man, I really don't have time to do this, or I really don't physically feel like doing this. And then I spend time before I'm doing it feeling a bit resentful. And then after I've done it, I am feeling angry and resentful, and sometimes I think it feels like, especially for women, that we are supposed to be doing it all. We are superwoman, super women. We can do it all. It's like that song, I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan. Yeah, we can do a lot of things, but we can't do all of the things. So saying no often brings about this feeling of guilt, this feeling of shame. If I say no, then I'm a horrible mom, or I'm a horrible friend, or I'm a horrible wife. One of the reasons that she says daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others, is because we cannot base our worth on other people's approvals. That's very hard for me. I have, for a lot of my life, been a people pleaser. And what she says in one of the talks is that only when we can really believe deep down that we are enough can we say enough. I found that really interesting. Really interesting. You can do a lot of different things when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to your comfort zone. But here are some examples of healthy boundaries. Ask permission. Take somebody else's feelings into account. Show gratitude. Be honest. Give space and avoid codependence. Show respect for differences in opinions, perspective, and feelings. There are these unseen lines, that's what the boundary is, that provide this sense of protection, mutual respect, expectations, and support. And they're important in all different kinds of areas of life. And when you are investing your time and your compassion and your love and your energy into your relationships, boundaries are important because they're just as important for you to do those things for yourself. One person can oftentimes blur the lines of your boundaries, but sometimes you don't even know that what your boundaries are, so it's hard to determine where the lines are getting crossed, where the lines are. It's important to recognize and give a voice to what your boundaries are, to your limits. And remember, they're not right, they're not wrong, they're just simply your boundaries. And you have to respect and honor your own feelings. And you can be afraid of somebody else's response, but you have to give yourself permission to have those boundaries and to feel what you feel, because your feelings aren't right or wrong. They're your feelings. They're right for you. Let's talk for a second about unhealthy boundaries. They're actually more of a lack of boundaries. They don't protect your best interests. They don't give you the mental, emotional, or physical space that you deserve and that you need. Some unhealthy boundaries are, let's say a parent dictates how their adult children should spend their free time or money. That's a good example. They don't respect your privacy, your time. It could be when a partner consistently discourages the other one from spending any amount of time with their family and friends. It could be when a friend frequently disparages the other person's appearance or personality. Having a lack of boundaries results in feeling belittled, controlled, trapped. And people who struggle to set personal boundaries with other people have trouble feeling confident and saying what they really need. They feel like they don't have enough space, or that the world can't handle their true emotional, physical, and mental needs. So how do you set healthy boundaries? That's something I've been researching and something I've been trying to do for quite a while, because like I said, I was taught some boundaries. And I think part of the reason I wasn't taught as much of the boundaries as I needed to be taught was because my mom wasn't taught boundaries. I don't think the term boundaries was ever even thrown around. We didn't have all of this self-help stuff and self-improvement stuff the way that we did now back then. I'm in my 50s. It is very uncomfortable to try to work on boundaries. It's very intimidating. So instead of being afraid of boundaries, I've been trying to think of boundaries as a tool, part of my toolbox. Part of my self-care toolbox, even though this is invisible. But they're tools that we can actually use that can help us in our relationships to ensure that our relationships are healthy and that we're more comfortable with ourselves, that we are standing our ground more. Boundaries give you a sense of freedom. And here are how they suggest that you set boundaries. Number 1, check in with yourself. Number 2, learn to say no. Number 3, seek support. So doing these 3 things, they say, will help you decide what boundaries should be set and how they should be set and how to protect your boundaries. But before you can dive into them, you have to know what some of that means. If you're checking in with yourself, are you feeling trapped, belittled, controlled? So people who struggle to set personal boundaries with others can have trouble feeling confident and saying what they really need. They can feel like they don't have enough space, or that the world can't handle their true emotions, physical, or mental needs. If you find yourself feeling any of those emotions described, you probably have trouble setting boundaries. And I do. Is there a person in your life that makes you feel trapped, belittled, or simply less than, or someone who makes you feel uneasy? The next time you're around them and you start feeling negative or unhappy, check in with yourself. How does this person make you feel? What is it they're doing or saying that makes you uncomfortable? If you've been in a relationship with this person for a long time, it can be difficult to know what you feel and why you're feeling it. And you have to be honest with yourself about what you're feeling. So you're allowed to, one, feel uncomfortable, uneasy, afraid. You're allowed to feel angry, upset, embarrassed. Your feelings are telling you something. And I'm not a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm just simply going through what research I found and what I know has and hasn't worked for me. I'm giving you some of the basic information that I found. And I think it's normal for people who haven't really practiced boundaries or don't have very many or still are working on it to feel uncomfortable or awkward. It's a practice. You're learning a skill. So it takes some time. It takes some effort. If you can keep at it and persevere, it is a way to protect yourself with boundaries, and it's going to be worth it. So say no, but it'll look different based on the situation and the people that you're dealing with. I think it's harder with our significant others but especially with our family members. These are some of the responses that can be right for you. And it says, note that while not all actually use the word no, they all express some variation of its meaning. Now, I found some of these from different sites. I just did some research and I haven't written them all down, but a lot of it came from like mental health support. I went on to like all different kinds of mental health resources for boundaries. No, I don't have time to commit to this project, but I may have time next week, month, quarter, so we can revisit this if you'd prefer. Can you please let me know more ahead of time next time, and I'd probably be able to help. No, I think our lifestyles are too different for us to be compatible roommates. No, I'm not comfortable being hugged. I need you to give me some space. No, I've made other plans this weekend. I think I'm going to need more time to make this decision. Can I get back to you next week? According to quite a few people, the following mantras can help us learn to set healthy boundaries. It's not my job to fix others. It's okay to say no. It's not my job to take responsibility for others. I don't have to anticipate the needs of others. Nobody has to agree with me. I'm responsible for my own feelings. I have the right to express my needs honestly. I am enough. I think the important thing with some of this is to remember that we have to balance compassion and boundaries, and that's not going to be easy. But in order to do that, you have to be kind of clear and firm, especially with people like me who don't have very good boundaries themselves. So you can be proactive, you can discuss your boundaries, be firm, be polite, strive to have a natural discussion that involves some give and take. You know, these people that are in your lives, you could actually just be honest and upfront with them. Hey, I'm working on my boundaries. And these are some things that I am concerned about. Just talk to people. And I think it's important to do that. I believe that boundaries and comfort zone go together. They're connected, at least. In order to learn and grow, we have to get out of our comfort zone. For some of us, boundaries is getting out of our comfort zone. Maybe we weren't raised with very many or at all raised with any at all. I was raised with some, but not as much as I needed. And that's because some of my family wasn't raised with boundaries. I'm in my 50s. So boundaries weren't talked about. I talked about this in the beginning. But comfort zone, it takes a lot of courage to step outside of your comfort zone, to get past the fear. That's the second part. You have the comfort zone, the fear zone, the learning zone, and the growth zone. And to get out of our comfort zones, we have to be challenged sometimes. But if we're pushed too much, we're going to feel panicked and overwhelmed. And if we're not pushed hard enough, we're not likely to really move beyond our comfort zone, especially not beyond the fear zone. Either way, our learning becomes restricted. And the thing I don't want to be is restricted. I don't want to be hindered. I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be in limbo. I don't want to be a walking, talking zombie creatively or personally. And part of my self-care is to do some of these things that are part of the hard things, like getting out of my comfort zone when it comes to certain things. Like, I am much more apt to get out of my comfort zone creatively than I am to get out of my comfort zone in other areas, because I understand about the comfort zone and creativity. I can do it step by step. I can pick a project, break it up into bits, and then work on it, but bit by bit. Plan out actionable steps, good to go. But when it comes to my personal comfort zone with certain things, I'm not quite sure of sometimes where to start. Sometimes I don't even know if I should be starting. Sometimes I get pushed because of something else. We go from our comfort zone, and if we can get past the fear, then we go into the learning zone. But what happens is our comfort zone signifies our most basic needs and that they're being met. So we're talking food, water, shelter, warmth, rest, security, stability, all those good things. Why would you really want to go messing up a good thing, if things are working? But like I talked about in the talk about boundaries, maybe things aren't working quite as well as you think they are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be burnt out, you wouldn't be overwhelmed, you wouldn't be stressed out, you wouldn't be anxious, you wouldn't feel guilty. And here's the thing, I've been stepping out of my comfort zone bit by bit in all kinds of areas. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the things that I've been doing recently to help me, to help myself. And it's part of my self-care. Things that I've been doing to help myself with boundaries, which is definitely one of my comfort zone areas, is to. So I've been trying to go to sleep by 11 p.m. so that I can get up around 7 a.m. I've also been saying yes to spending time with loved ones. Like, for example, this past weekend, my husband and I went out of town, not very far, but we went out of town. We went and visited my cousin and stayed with her at her condo on the lake. We grilled. We went out to breakfast. We sat on the balcony on the patio and watched the boats and stuff in the water and things like that. We walked around and we had a good time. One of the other things that I suggest to getting out of town, even though I had some work I felt like I ought to be doing, I did journal a bit and I did post some stuff. I also had Selena from Tuesday midday until Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. Victor was with his aunt and I had Selena. I suggested that because my daughter wanted to take her boyfriend and go out of town for his birthday. I had Miss Selena and I had stuff to do, and I did get a little bit of work done. She does take some naps, and my mom did watch her for a little bit to spend a little bit of time with her because my mom enjoys spending time with her, and Miss Selena is totally a Mimi's girl. And if I am around, she doesn't want anything to do with anybody else. I am doing a little bit now. It is raining. I probably will not be able to get this completely edited until tomorrow, and that means putting it up tomorrow, and I also have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And I am trying to keep up with the doctor's appointments and trying to keep up with my medicine and trying to keep up with some of these things, which are all part of self-care. Taking my vitamins, taking my medicine. I have a different tracker now because of the doctor and what the doctor needs, which means a whole other tracker. I don't know that tracking is so much out of my comfort zone, is that tracking is just not something I'm really that good at, because I've never really cared. I work from home, I'm at home, but I need to keep up with this stuff. It's important for my health. David and I went to Lowe's last Friday morning before we went out of town, and I got some little mums on clearance, and I put them in this bin. My mom has another one of those bins at her house, so when we go there, the next time we're going to bring it back. So I've been planting mums. I've been doing some TLC with the plants. I had to do some stuff. I'm going to be bringing some of the plants in here, which means I'm going to have to hang some hooks. I also put out diatomaceous earth all up underneath around the edge of the barn and around the steps and around the metal shed in the backyard, as well as around the house, because we've been having a lot of issues with ants, with fire ants. I've also been having these little beetly things that kind of fly, and they look a little bit like stink bugs. And so I put that out because I want to be careful about the plants and the kids and all, and diatomaceous earth is one of the most natural things that I can use to do that, because I really don't want to do chemicals. I've also been trying to say no to staying out late in here, working late. I know that I'm probably going to be exhausted if I do, but I feel like I ought to because I'm behind. And that's why, like I said, this probably will not be edited until in the morning. I have the first portion edited. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so hopefully I have a piece of sticker. So hopefully I will get it up and it can actually be uploading maybe while I'm at the doctor's office. I've also been going through my clothes and purging items that I don't love, that I haven't worn in a long while. Some of which I'd already gone through a couple of times and had just been saving for the what if. And I've realized that yes, I've lost some weight and my weight will go up and down. But some of these things, even when I lose the weight, and I'm thinking positively here, even when I lose the weight, am I really going to want those? Am I really going to want to keep that? The other things that I've been trying to do more is take pictures throughout the week, sometimes a few times a day, sometimes at least once a day, of things that are going on throughout my life, throughout the day, throughout the week, so that I can include them in some of these videos. Because self-care is about more than, certain things. One of the things is this basket right here that has, it's my SelfCare Toolkit, and it has a variety of things in it. It's a calming aromatherapy candle. It has breezy hints of aromatic lavender blossom, frosted eucalyptus, and white sage steeped with rose petals. Contains essential oils. It is from Ivy Botanics. One of the other things is that I got a new deck of cards. They are the Heavenly Bodies astrology cards, and the book, y'all, and the cards, they're astrology cards. And there are a few other things, like I have my headset down there to put on to cancel out noise, and whenever I want to listen to like a podcast or a book or something, a YouTube video, I have a packet of a couple of these that I saved from when I was subscribed to Tamed Wild. They have some of these hot teas, and I've been looking forward to using these. As we have more and more rainy weather and it gets a tiny bit chillier, I will be really using a lot more tea. One of the other things that I got for self-care was some Dove Nourishing Body Care. It's 24-hour moisturizer, and I've been using it. And I am taking more time for my spiritual stuff. And I am notating it in the bullet journal. One of my problems with the comfort zone is that I can get past the fear. When I'm in the learning zone, I sometimes have a tendency, if I'm not picking it up very well, if I'm having to work too hard at it, I'm not very patient, I can find excuses because of a lack of self-confidence, that it's not coming out well enough, or it's not perfect enough, it's not good enough, why am I bothering, and then or other reasons, or maybe, it could be somebody else's reasons when I'm doing something new, when I'm learning something new and people are critical of it, or I get that imposter syndrome, and I feel like for whatever reason, I'm in that learning stage. I'm going to go back to the fear stage and the learning stage when I'm dealing with the challenges and the problems of learning it. And I don't get past that, I end up back. But if I can get past the learning zone, if I can get past some of that, and a lot of times I do, then the next stage is that growth zone. And then that's where you start, you're doing more of the setting goals, you're doing more of the realizing your aspirations and living your dream, and you're learning and you're growing, and then you start all over with your comfort zone, because once you've done that and you've learned and you've grown, because you got out of the fear stage, so that's part of your learning and growth, and then you get to the other stuff, then your comfort zone is stretched, it's different, it's evolved, and each time you can do that, it's evolved. I'm feeling better about a lot of this. One of the other things that I did for myself was I got this little tester of some Irvine ink. I'm excited about it. It's really pretty. I put it in one of the pens that for my personal journaling. So that's more of when I do like text journaling, dear diary journaling, that kind of thing. I have been feeling much better. I have been doing so much more. But here's the thing. Tony Robbins said, all growth starts at the end of your comfort zone. And one of the things I've been trying to do is not to overthink everything, to just pick up the pencil and start drawing, to pick up the pen and start doing, writing, journaling, planning, whatever, to not overthink so much. The other thing I've been trying to do is to say yes when I really want to say yes, but I have before said no because of time constraints or feeling guilty because I feel like I should be doing more, I should be working, I should be doing housework, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to get that time back with my family, with my loved ones. And it's raining. I've been saying yes when before I'd say no, and then sometimes I'm saying no when before I would say yes when I didn't really feel up to it, like cooking dinner. For example, last night I cooked homemade spaghetti, salad, and garlic bread, and we had leftovers. And there are some people that don't like spaghetti, maybe they don't like pasta or whatever, I don't know, that's crazy, but I didn't cook tonight, and I let everybody know ahead of time, look, there's leftovers, I still have Selena, I'm not cooking. So if you want something other than the leftovers, there's some stuff in there. I feel like I'm in a better position. I'm in a better place. I have been doing more with my boundaries, more with my comfort zone. We're going to get to more of some of the comfort zone, doing some of this vlog stuff, putting up pictures, and just doing some of the things that I've been doing have in and of itself been working on my comfort zone, have been working on my boundaries. Saying yes when I before would say no, saying no when before I would have said yes, and it really has to do with my life, my needs at the time, and figuring some things out when it comes to boundaries and comfort zone, because I'm really not that comfortable with certain things, and I have this sense of I could be overworking, and then I would be okay because I would be doing what I felt like I ought to be doing. But at the same time, I know better now, because then that leads to burnout and overwhelm and stress, and I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to have quality content, and I would rather let it take a few days longer, or a few days in general, and have quality content than to get it out and not have any time for myself or any time for my family or anything like that. I have to be able to learn and grow. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I kind of put off Procreate, is because, one, Procreate takes time and has a learning curve. Procreate is something I'm not familiar with really at all. It's very techy, and I'm not very techy. It takes time away from doing other things, and so I've made excuses for not trying to learn it. Not only because it's out of my comfort zone, but because of this weird misplaced boundaries thing where I feel like there's all these other things that I should be doing, but that's just as important as some of those other things I should be doing. So that's where I'm at with some of this, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below what you've been doing. Have you been working on your boundaries? Have you been working on your comfort zone? Have you been working on self-care? Have you been working on procrastination? Any of these things that we've been talking about. And like I said, I thought I'd do both of these. That way I'm not so far behind, so that maybe this Sunday I can actually do what I need to do, and Patreon will get their video Sunday for this, and then y'all will get your video Sunday or Monday for this. So y'all have a great one. Thank you so much for being here. Be positive, be creative, be kind to one another, and support each other. Thank you.